I like to get right to the source of things here. Here's a giant tree. Funny enough, it looks like this wonderful giant tree in New Orleans. I don't think it is. It's a wonderful picture, though, because there's a couple stakes holding it up, so I think I'd see them there. Anyways, uh, somebody was talking about soil levels in trees somehow consuming some of the soil. Now, I've done this talk in many different ways. I was talking about the salt. I was talking about what is called refraction, how salt works in the living and dead systems with carbon bonds. And this could be a really long talk and all that, because it might take that in a second or third video. But it's this. If you look at a tree and you guess how much it weighs, 50,000 pounds, it's been around for all these years, what is it made of? It's not made of the soil. It's not made of the tiny little pieces of salt in there. It's a giant pulp substance. But where did that pulp come from? It's not bringing pulp out of the earth. It's growing and processing in a certain way that's using water and sunlight to create it. Those little tiny pieces of salt in the soil are mirrors or reflective pieces of information that inform the tree to do something. Look at it this way. When you take that, you cut that tree down and you dry it, do you know how much that weighs? But what is it made of? It's made of the thing that you get when you light it on fire. It's made of fire. It's made of light. But that light has no weight. So what do? You chop this tree down and it's moist. It has a little bit of water content in it. But you season the tree, you let it dry, and it's still heavy as fuck. But it's not made of the things in the ground. It's not made of the salt in the soil. The soil, it displaced some soil. It moved some soil, certainly. But what it is made of and what it is, the tree, is a giant source of father knowledge of fire. The wisdom of fire and water. It's not made of the soil. When people attempt to use, someone asked me a question or made a statement. I couldn't tell. It was kind of both. Horticulturist, 30 years in the game. They're coming from a scientific, dead world view. And to explain all of that would be very hard, because now I'd have to break down 30 years of entrainment to a physical world, which is a shadow world, which is a dead world. And I'm telling you about fire that exists inside of that tree that you can't see. You see that tree and you think it's a physical object, yet you burn it. What would you do with that tree? What could you do? You'd use it to build a house, maybe. You'd use it but initially it was for fire, for light. For light. What is light? Light is a guiding path. Light is the information. Light is the thing. It's the essential quality of the experience that you have of being human. And then we could get into what bowel is, and the inferno in the belly or the belly. We could get into all of these kind of hyper-referential mental statements that basically, let's talk about some philosophy here. But I'm looking here back into the real world, what you'd call the real world, what the physical world around us. But even in that, it's showing to you inside of the tree of exactly what I'm saying, of how I'm explaining this. Because the tree has weight and density far beyond what it has, maybe if it did consume in any way any of the material in the ground. Okay, let's do this. If it obtained the material in the ground, it didn't soak up 50,000 pounds in the ground. There's not 50,000 pounds of soil but in that imprint of the tree beneath itself, of its root system. There's not. It didn't take 50,000 pounds of soil in the imprint of the tree and move it not only into the where the look at. It didn't take that and turn it into half of the tree beneath the ground and half of it above the ground. It didn't just like, okay, here, it's going to become these roots and it's going to become these other things. It didn't eat that. It did. It's not. That's not its. It's not its source. All it is a bed. See, they tell you it's even they tell you in the language. Just the way the king lays down in his bed, you put a plant in a bed. You lay it there. You lay something in a bed to sleep. It's so this tree that's sitting here with all of this weight above it, that has all of these solar panels on it, collecting the electrical universe and the solar radiation, everything that's going on here, the electrical charge that's occurring. I don't want to turn this all into the electrical universe theory, because I think that just goes a little too far for most people. But you can look at a tree and go, okay, well, that's made of light. It's not made of the inorganic substances beneath it. I mean, you can take all sorts of plants, and what does it become? It becomes an organic living system that's living inside of a dead system. The salt is dead. It's living in that thing. But it's sitting here and sprouts up, and it's full of light and water. And then when you dry out the water, it still has way more weight and mass, the quantity of energy in there. It's light, it's just energy. I mean, yeah, that really simplifies the concept. It makes it so completely basic. But people are bypassing, well, how did that come to exist in that way? It's not the soil. And if light has no weight, and we look at it and we say, well, it's made of water, what do we get out of that? What do we garner from that? The information in water. Well, can we light water on fire? Well, that's a very interesting concept, isn't it? Because if water is made of hydrogen and oxygen, both are jet fuels, they can be both lit on fire. And this water that became this tree becomes what? Wood to start a fire. You can light it. It's very easy to start wood on fire. But we have to dry it out. It's got to be dry. So, okay, there's no water in there anymore. But what is it? Is the pulp made of, the fibrous substance that it is? What is it made of? Is it hydrogen and oxygen in the tree? Is the tree oxygenated? Yeah, it seems like it. What does it leave over? Carbon footprint? A carbon ash? The ash that is used? The charcoal, the coal, the ash, which becomes part of the pencil? And this goes into a very long thing that I don't want to get into here. But just once again, these trees, what are they? They're made of light. But they have density. So it becomes confusing to people. TsarXen.